Hello, folks. Well, the first thing is that the real thing we're going to be focusing on tonight is, do you know what's in your mind? Do you know actually what you're thinking? A lot of people very easily get in a state of fog where they don't actually know what they're thinking, but they are thinking. Because whether you're consciously aware of your thoughts, in the sense if you start talking inside your head, or there's something brimming below the surface, this is actually what you're thinking, those are both operative. But before we get to that and why it's valuable, let's just for a moment get a thing they start with in almost all Eastern meditations, and that is to sit straight. Because when you don't, your body starts slumping, and then you're actually not meditating. What you're dealing with is your nervous system making noise because it's in an uncomfortable position. So we take the crown of the head, we take your perineum, and you just try and make as straight a line in your body as you can. Now there's many ways to get into alignments, getting the spine to this, the chest, what's the position, but that takes more time, and if you really want to know it, I have meditation programs that, show you how to do that. But something you could start off with that is actually kind of an advanced way, but also is probably the most easy one for a beginner to do. Take here and just try and feel as though someone were sticking a big needle down to the bottom of your perineum. If you've ever read Ulysses, just like the Cyclops who took the people and then, basically barbecued them, that's what he did. But anyway, what it is it's the exact center of your body. You're going to have, if you go down that line, you're going to have as much in front of you as in back of you, as much to the left of you as the right of you. And that will, at least at the most simple way, begin to activate an important energy channel in your body. So we'll just sit here for a minute and just see if you can feel this and go through whatever adjustments you have. I mean, if you're collapsed and you go, wait a second, that's not a straight line. Try and get a straight line. If you're leaning too far forward, that's not a straight line. That's a straight line. If you're too far back, well, that's not a straight line. That's a straight line. And you just do the best you can. Don't worry about not doing it right, because in this sense, something is going to be better than nothing. So now, close your eyes and what are you feeling or thinking? What's going on inside you? Many people will just get like a fuzz or a buzz, or I don't know, they'll drift, but there's something going on inside you. Now, most of us have actually not taken the time to recognize it. And somehow, maybe if it's uncomfortable, we'll just try and flit to another direction so we don't have to deal with it. Or we'll just get self-absorbed in some sensation. But what are you feeling inside? Now, if you think about anything, and you think about it for more than, 2 or 3 seconds, there is some kind of a feeling inside you. And that feeling usually could be coming from a thought, or it actually is creating a thought, but your thoughts and that feeling have got something to do with each other. So what are you feeling inside? Or if you get thoughts, what are you thinking inside? Just so that you recognize what's happening inside of you. Now take your tongue and say the word let. Or you could go Larry. And where your tongue ends up is going to be on the roof of your mouth. And just leave it there if you can. Why you're doing this will get explained later on. But if you do it, it'll get the job done. And now, just for a few moments, let's just notice what's happening inside our mind. Maybe your mind is mostly operating in your head, which is what it is for most people in the West. Or maybe you feel it in your body somewhere. I don't know. Shoulders, chest, thighs, feet, groin. Who knows? But that is kind of, is there something that's fairly steady that's inside you? So is there something, what is it? Now in this sequestering, social distancing, where we're being asked to stay inside our houses, and some people are going to be in terribly small apartments or spaces, or it's going to be that you've got 3 or 4 roommates, but you're still kind of in a confined space. That when people are like that, they have tendencies to, if what's going on inside them that they may not be aware of, they have a tendency to bark at each other. It's also very well known throughout history that if men have been horny for a long time and they're not having sex, then it reaches a certain point to where their insides are boiling and they're going kind of crazy. And the same thing, they'll yell at people. Or if it was 50 years ago, they go to the bar and get in a fight with someone just to release it. When these pressures build up in somebody, this is when, you know, as we have had in America, people take out guns and they start shooting at people. Because they're trying to release a pressure. But if you can release this pressure before it builds up, you don't have to be nasty with the people that are in your house. And you don't always have to be forgiving yourself for what you did, because afterwards, most people, after they do it, realize, God, I wish I hadn't done that. But the pressure's building, and they can't. And when people sit for, you know, extended meditation in the Orient, when these things happen at times, I mean, their mind just goes really crazy. And one of the big things in meditation is to teach you how to use that to get past it, so you can actually find how all that stuff can take you to inner peace. But in the beginning, if people just have the pressure, they don't. So I'm not asking you to do anything except recognize what's going on inside you. Now you'll find this easier to do if you close your eyes. Just let your eyes get kind of heavy and kind of relaxed. And then you may find it easier to go inside yourself. So I just ask, you know, simple questions like, what's going on inside you? You know, I mean, when this sort of stuff gets really bad, then people start having, you know, obsessive compulsive syndrome. And so they get an idea and they think about it again and again and again and again and again until it starts really messing their mind up. Not just for what they're having the compulsion about, because they don't stop there. They do it in all sorts of other areas of your life. And we're getting information off the TV and the websites, and you know, you get some people, they just go crazy about, well, what was said 30 seconds ago and now what's said 2 minutes later. But you need to recognize, is the state of your mind kind of okay, or is it kind of disturbed? And if you really get lucky with this, you're also going to find places where you just naturally get happy and you don't know why. Because any human being can generate a sense of happiness without it being attached to any external event. This is a big thing that many of the ancient Eastern traditions, meditation traditions, teach people how to do. So you can turn happiness on like beer on tap. But can you just first recognize, like, what are you feeling inside you? What is the feeling? If you're getting thoughts, if you're getting ideas, you're getting images, you're getting sounds, you're talking to yourself, you're hearing somebody else, you're hearing something, somebody talk to somebody. What is the feelings that are behind that? Because once you can start to recognize those a lot of the pressure to act on those feelings goes away. Or you can say, oh, wow, I mean, this is what's going on. And like maybe even though that person is asking for it, I'm not going to give it to them. Even though I've got something going inside my head that says I should beat my wife, child, or dog, yeah, it's just this thing that's going on inside me, so maybe I ought to chill it out and try not to do it. And it's a lot better if you're going to beat someone to beat them, once every month and, every other day. So you can make it less. But this ability to start recognizing what's happening inside you is also eventually going to be necessary for getting to the root of why things are disturbing your mind and being able to get rid of them. Just neutralize them. So, what are you feeling inside? If you get real quiet, can you feel muscles twitching? Can you feel your eyeballs twitching? Can you feel your eyeballs getting weird in some way? Did the sensation in your ears or parts of your face change? Do you find that if you feel some sort of pressure arising in your facial muscles that it's doing something to your head? You're starting to think a different way. Your mind is drifting in a certain direction. Now, you don't have to do anything with this. You just have to recognize it if it's going on. And in the process of recognizing what it's going on, often it will get less. But even if it doesn't get less, as time goes on, that's going to tell you, wow, maybe I ought to do something about this. And then the lessons that will come in the meditation will show you what to do with these things and how to mitigate them or get rid of them. But you got to recognize it first. If you're going to paint a picture, you have to be able to see the canvas. If you're going to enjoy music, you have to be able to hear the music. If you want to do something about the pressures that are arising in your mind, then you have to be able to feel that there are pressures actually inside your mind. And with all this sequestering, this, staying indoors so, you're not help spreading the virus or being in a position to get it easily. These are things that we need to do. That's, because if we don't do them, every place that people aren't doing them, they're dying, and we all know this. And, but it would be a lot better if we could make it a lot less. Not just for you. How about the people you love? And how about if you have any sense of Christian love or Buddhist compassion or the peace of Allah, that you don't want to give it to somebody else? So what's going on inside you? Is it stuff that happened in the past hour, or is it actually this stuff is churning around you because something happened yesterday and you haven't gotten rid of it, so it's still inside you, bouncing around like a pinball in a pinball machine? You just have to that's what's happening. And it's hard to say. If it's in your mind, it's in your mind. If you're feeling it, you're feeling it. It doesn't matter if it makes any sense or you shouldn't be feeling it. You are feeling it. So you have to deal with that situation. So now in the first meditation we looked at, are you breathing? And as you do this, just also notice, that if something weird starts happening in your head, notice if that's causing you to stop breathing. And all you want to do is just breathe. But that's what we did in the last meditation session. But it isn't like your breathing's going away. What's the old joke? If you think breathing's not important, try not doing it for a couple hours. Yeah, it's okay, you'll be dead, and you actually won't have to worry about much, because not much to worry about after you're dead. But the fact of the matter is that recognize it, because a lot of things that can come up into your head may have nothing to do with what happened to you in the 5 minutes before you started getting agitated and wanted to have a fight with somebody. They could be things that are coming that you've been walking around with for 30 years. Only now this sequestering in place, or staying in place, is just having a way to bring it out of you. Once upon a time, as a pro bono thing, I taught prisoners in the most violent prison in America. I taught them how to do Tai Chi, and I also in the process taught them a little bit of meditation. Now, all these guys were gang leaders in the prison. And I used to have the guards every once in a while when gang wars were getting ready to start. And when gang wars start in a nasty state prison, people die. And he just said, can you chill them out? I don't know how I did it, but I did chill them out. But I would, beside teaching him the Tai Chi, I would tell him small things about meditation. Just recognize what's building up in your mind. And this is going to go one or two ways. Because, I mean, these were people who were, everyone in that class was a convicted murderer. Well, except one guy. He shot the guy just didn't die, so he was in for attempted murder. But I said, no, wait a second. When you're starting to get really, really, really upset, why don't you just sit and just recognize what's in your mind. So at least if you're going to want to start, a gang war or something, it's because you really want to do it, and not just because you are reacting like like in a doctor's office where they hit your knee with a little thing and your foot jerks up in the air. But you actually don't have any control over it. It wasn't really what you wanted to do, but these things tend to take on a life of their own. And as a matter of fact, they all told me these things tend to take on a life of their own. I wasn't getting this because I thought that's what should happen. They were telling me what was happening. And how do you just get your mind to recognize these things? And then maybe, you might find that by just recognizing what's going on inside your head, not what you're thinking, not these stories you tell yourself. Because people tell stories why I should be angry. They tell stories in their own head about why, I should open fire on a schoolyard, or why I should beat my dog or my wife up. But something, before those stories ever happen, there is this pressure that's building up inside them. And they don't recognize the pressure until they start making stories about it. And then they talk themselves into doing really stupid stuff. So if you can kind of get it at the level where the pressure is building up, and you're just kind of recognizing, this is where you want to make sure you're breathing, make sure your breathing's easy, recognize what's happening in your mind. So it doesn't have to go the whole way to where you start telling stories, and then, who knows what's in your story. Okay, stories can be very nice. We have movies in Hollywood that tell these wonderfully inspiring stories, and we have stories that make your skin crawl, because that's not something human beings ought to do, but they're doing it, and that's horrible. But they're stories. So if you can recognize that pressure's building up, maybe you can recognize what you have to chill out inside yourself before you start telling yourself stories. Because there's a certain point when people tell themselves stories, it just kind of takes off on its own. And they're not even aware of the fact they're doing it. So this is the big thing that I wanted you to kind of get, is recognize what's going on inside your mind. Now, the thing a lot of people say, which just isn't true, well, I know if I'm thinking something. Do you really? Are you sure? Because there's the surface of your mind, where you think 7 and 7 is 14, or, oranges are better than plums or something. But really the surface of your mind is actually also just a little bit below that. And you want to recognize that. You want to recognize what it is. And that's something that I think that just focus on what's happening inside your mind. What are you feeling inside your mind? What are you feeling? Whatever. What is it? If you're getting a thought, what kind of a feeling's going with it? Now, a lot of people get stuck in it. I can't be feeling those things. Those things are no good. I mean, I'm a good person. I shouldn't feel those things. If the people in the East learned anything, is that thoughts are just thoughts. And the trick is that you can judge them all you want. You can judge yourself all you want. But at the end of the day, what you have is you have the thoughts. And if you can relax those thoughts, be aware of them, and just not kind of inside yourself go, ooh, I want to give it a lot of energy, you'd be surprised how many of them just dissipate and go away. They give you sensations for a certain period of time, and then they just kind of like just drift away like fog. But as soon as you say, I can't be feeling this, I can't be thinking this, it gets worse. I believe it's sometimes called the polarity effect. You can't really tell your mind what to do until you're really well trained, because your mind just simply isn't going to listen to you. That's kind of how it goes. So with all this being said and done, you're trying to recognize your thoughts, and you'll find that if you make your back, when you begin to drift off a little bit, if you straighten yourself up the middle of your body, that will help you to stay on track to recognizing what's happening inside you. And that's a very, very good thing to do. I think that that's enough for today. We'll try and do these meditation things, and I'm basing it on people who've maybe haven't done it, although I think anyone who has done a lot of meditation is going to benefit from it also. Because the funny thing about a circle is the beginning and the end of the circle actually don't look all that different. And so all I can say is take it easy, do this kind of stuff, and, use it so that as this sequestering and everything, and people get nervous and people get fearful, and, just being cooped up causes a lot of people to go crazy. I mean, that's pretty well known. That if you can reduce it, you can gain habits that will be very useful for you for the rest of your life, and not just during this emergency situation. So, thank you very much. Till next time, folks. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you found this helpful. If you like this, go ahead and click subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.